It's precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Lal Mallavarache, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. Major creditors, including the Paris Club, have pledged their full support for Sri Lanka's efforts to find an early resolution to its debt crisis. Chair of the International Chamber of Commerce, Maria Fernanda Gaza, will arrive in the island for a 5-day official visit. Former Minister Ravi Karunanayake says that the President's tour to China will be fruitful for the country. The UK government pledges its continuous support to Sri Lanka for development activities and the demining program. All arrangements have been finalized to hold Grade 5 scholarship examination tomorrow. In world news, bodies of missing Israelis recovered from Gaza in raid. In sports news, the first match between India and Pakistan in the 2024 World Cup will be played in Hyderabad. Now the local news in detail. State Minister of Finance Shamsema Singha met the chair of the Paris Club of Creditors Emmanuel Mamoun on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank annual meetings in Morocco. Paris Club co-chairman William Roos and Vice-chairman Christopher Boyes were also present at the talks. The Paris Club has extended its fullest support for Sri Lanka's efforts to find an early resolution to its debt crisis, Finance Ministry said yesterday. In a statement, State Finance Minister Shamsema Singha said Sri Lanka is engaging positively with all foreign creditors and they are engaging in positive dialogue with us. The Paris Club also held a meeting on Sri Lanka last month with China as an observer. Meanwhile, Minister Sema Singha also met Vice Chairman of the Asian Development Bank, Sixin Chen. The ADB representative also expressed their continuous support to Sri Lanka's debt restructuring program. Newly elected chairperson of the International Chamber of Commerce, Maria Fernanda Gaza, will arrive in the island for a 5-day official visit on Wednesday under the invitation of its Sri Lanka branch. The International Chamber of Commerce is the largest and most representative business organization which is represented in 170 countries with a corporate membership of 45 million companies. ICC Sri Lanka, which is the Sri Lankan branch of the ICC, has been a catalyst for business growth and global connectivity in Sri Lanka for over 68 years. The chairman and board of ICC Sri Lanka, Anthony Shanil Fernando, says that Maria Fernanda Gaza will meet heads of many state and private sector institutions for free trade and business promotion talks. Former Minister Ravi Karunanayake says that the President's tour to China will be fruitful for the country's economic development. This will lead to attract more Chinese investors to Sri Lanka. Former Minister Ravi Karunanayake points out that attracting more investment opportunities is the only way to stabilize the national economy. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
Continuing local news. UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Minister for the Indo-Pacific Anne-Marie Trevelyan has arrived in Sri Lanka for a 3-day official visit at present. During the tour, she met Governor of the Northern Province, Mrs. P.S.M. Charles, and held lengthy discussions on the progress of development programs in the province. She pledged UK's continuous support to Sri Lanka's development activities and the demining program. The UK government expects Sri Lanka becomes a landmine-free country by 2030. She also paid a courtesy call on Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Both sides engaged in significant discussions encompassing a wide range of critical topics. One of the primary subjects of conversation revolved around Sri Lanka's ongoing efforts for economic recovery. as the nation grapples with various economic challenges exacerbated by the global pandemic. The United Kingdom has been keen on extending support and cooperation to bolster these recovery endeavours. Her visit to Colombo and Jaffna marks the celebration of 75 years of diplomatic relations between the UK and Sri Lanka. It is also the minister's first visit to Sri Lanka in her role and coincides with the 23rd meeting of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, the chairmanship of which is Sri Lanka. Maliga Kanda Magistrates Court has ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to arrest the officials who were responsible for importing and distributing substandard antibodies using forged documents and distributing them to state hospitals. Magistrate Lochanabe Vikrama had further directed the CID officers to produce the suspects before the court before the 16th of November. The order was delivered when a complaint filed by Puravasi Balaya and other civil organizations before the CID was taken up before the court yesterday. Earlier this month, the National Medicines Regulatory Authority had said a batch of intravenous immunoglobulins imported to Sri Lanka from India in violation of the due procedure was suspended from use. That ends local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
All necessary arrangements have been made to hold the Grade 5 scholarship examination tomorrow at 2,888 examination centres across the country. According to the Commissioner General of Examinations, Amit Jasundara, a total of 337,956 candidates are scheduled to sit for the examination this year. The Commissioner General of Examinations said, taking into account the disaster situation in some parts of the southern province, a special program is in place for students in the affected areas. For the convenience of children, a special program is in place in those centres. That was main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watchlight, Consultant Eye Surgeons Association President Dr. Kapila Bandhu-Tilaka says that the National Eye Hospital spends 30 million rupees per month to treat people suffering from eye diseases due to diabetes, including surgery. He said that 25% of diabetic patients in Sri Lanka are suffering from diabetic retinopathy, and a diabetic patient can be diagnosed early and treated through an annual eye examination by a qualified ophthalmologist. He said that due to the damage done to the blood vessels by diabetes, the back layer of the eye that transforms light into images known as the retina is affected, and this effect is known as a diabetic retinopathy. That came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to world news. Taking a look at the headlines of the world news. Bodies of missing Israelis recovered from Gaza in raid. Australia votes in historic indigenous voice poll. France raises security level after school knife attack. Now the world news in detail. Reports say Israel's military recovered a number of bodies of missing Israelis in a ground raid on Gaza yesterday. Israel has warned 1.1 million Palestinians living in the North Gaza to evacuate south, and thousands have been fleeing by vehicle or on foot. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said the call for a mass evacuation was extremely hazardous, and he urged humanitarian access. More than 1,300 people were killed in Israel last weekend when Hamas fighters crossed the border to attack civilians and soldiers. Nearly 2,000 people have been killed in Israel's bombing campaign of the Gaza Strip launched in the aftermath, Palestinian authorities say. Australia is voting in a historic referendum on Indigenous recognition and representation. Voters are being asked if they want to enshrine an indigenous advisory body known as the Voice to Parliament in the Constitution. This would also recognize Aborigines and Torres Strait Islander as the nation's first peoples. A majority of voters must vote yes in a majority of Australia's 6 states for the reform to pass. Yes advocates say it is a modest yet profound challenge allowing Indigenous Australians to take their rightful place in their own country. The French Prime Minister has put the country on its highest state of counter-terrorism alert after an assailant fatally stabbed a teacher and seriously wounded 2 others. Witnesses say the knifeman shouted Allahu Akbar or God is greatest during the attack at a school in Ahas, northern France. He is now in custody. The attack emergency level has been used in previous counter-terror cases. The alert can trigger extra security deployments and public warnings. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. Bodies of missing Israelis recovered from Gaza in raid. Australia votes in historic Indigenous voice poll. France raises security level after school knife attack. That ends World News.
Development News.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that officials should prepare and implement urban development plans without inconveniencing the public. He emphasizes that the Urban Development Authority should prepare city plans giving priority to public convenience and development. The Urban Development Authority should properly plan schools, hospitals, temples and public housing. The purchase of land or the allocation of land for various projects is not a duty assigned to the Urban Development Authority, the Prime Minister emphasized. That was Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by Shakti. Refresh your mind and body. Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
The first match between India and Pakistan in the World Cup will be played today. The match is scheduled to play in Hyderabad at 2 p.m. today. Today's match has been described as the blockbuster event of the tournament. Millions will tune in to watch the game and the 132,000 capacity stadium is expected to be full. Both sides have made confident starts in the tournament, winning their first 2 matches. That came to you in Sports News.
Shakti. Refresh your mind and body. Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Go ekaktiana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Asia Corp Insurance Brokers Private Limited has entered into reinsurance facilitator agreements with the leading life insurer Sanasa Life Insurance Company PLC recently. Asia Corp Chairman Sunil De Silva and Nalin Welgamer, Group Chairman of Ideal Group of Companies, including the Board of Directors and many invitees from both parties, participated. Both chairmen impressed with the stance that was taken by the technical team of Asia Corp. Meanwhile, the market turnover reached 999.4 million rupees, 1.5% higher than the monthly average turnover of 985 million rupees. That came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekaktiana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, State Minister Ranjit Simhala Petia said that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed officials not to impose any more new taxes for the people of this country. The State Minister made this remark at a meeting held at the Ministry yesterday. The meeting was held between the Minister and the heads of the income-earning ministries. It was organized with an idea of the State Minister to increase the government income. The aim of the meeting to reach the revenue targets of the ministries without delay. That came to you in Economic News.
Weather report.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur over most parts of the island after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, can be expected at some places in Uva, Central, Sabaragamuwa and Eastern provinces. A few showers may occur in coastal areas of the western and southern provinces during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in Central, Sabaragamuwa and Uva provinces during the morning. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. Major creditors, including the Paris Club, have pledged their full support for Sri Lanka's efforts to find an early resolution to its debt crisis. Chair of the International Chamber of Commerce, Maria Fernanda Gaza, will arrive in the island for a 5-day official visit. Former Minister Ravi Karnanayaka says that the President's tour to China will be fruitful for the country. The UK government pledges its continuous support to Sri Lanka for development activities and the demining program. All arrangements have been finalized to hold Grade 5 scholarship examination tomorrow. With that, we conclude the news, and over to my friend and certainly yours, who's all geared up to keep you entertained with a wonderful collection of music indeed. Over to you, Asanka.